Good evening, Virtual Village family. How are you all doing on this lovely Tuesday? It's Tuesday, right?
Yes, it is Tuesday. Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
I think it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. I hope everybody is doing well. I hope you're having a very literary summer thus far. So many wonderful things out here to read. Just a lot of things going on in the world, and in the midst of it all, we need to be getting our read on. Good evening, Shania. Always
Always.
wonderful to see you. Very glad to see that comment. Don't know what I would do if I didn't see it right there. I remember that one time that it wasn't there and I was clutching my chest. So glad that you are there. A sense of stability and an excitement for us. But yes, it is Tuesday and it is summertime. So just sit back and unwind and sit back and read a good book, okay? A good book that affirms who you are, okay? So anyway, it's Tuesday and we're excited. We are in week 16 and we did some great math yesterday thinking about what this means that it's been week 16. That was how many months? That's
Four,
4 months.
4 months.
A lot of books read and a lot of readers coming up here reading. So we are very excited and proud of such a feat. And it's a community feat that we all came together to ensure that it happened. What is on your mind, Rodney? What's going on with you on this Tuesday?
Another month coming to a close. It seems like, this whole pandemic thing has made the summer transition just feel so different. So, even though my children are out of public schools, you always felt that June end of the year, and then you felt that summer break or summertime, and then you felt the next transition into the start of the school year. I still don't yet feel that transition.
Right.
It's like it's all blurry. So still trying to get a feel for that. I hear from parents quite a bit. Still just trying to wrap their arms around what we've been doing, what we're going to be doing, and how we're going to do things in the future. So I just encourage all the parents that are out there and all the students that are out there, continue to let your voices be heard in terms of the things that you need as we continue in this different environment for learning and support at home. Sometimes when you have these crises hit, we respond. Which is kind of what we have learned as we have shared our history. We just go to work and we respond. But then after a while, you start looking back. We say we're in week 16, and you have to take some time to go back and think, well, I know what I did under a crisis, but what is this new normal, if there is going to be a new normal, going to look like, and how do I adjust to it, both for my productivity, my children's productivity, my family's productivity, and my own sanity. So as we are now entering into the month of July, that remains on my mind. And then, of course, with all the activism that continues, Frederick Douglass and his famous July 4th speech is always on my mind at this time as well. So we might say that for Friday. Yeah, we can say that for Friday.
Oh, you want? Okay, yeah, we can say that.
Yeah, that's for Friday. Yes.
Save that for Friday. But what we're not getting ready to save is this, all right? So all right.
Look, mommy, community in action, but oh my, let us sound of that. Look, daddy, there's a book for me too, but oh my, let us sound of that. Creative, affirming, and culture for me too. Look, granny, let us sound of that. Look, granny, let us sound of that. Look, granny, let us sound of that. Learning and exploring about history, you see. Look, mommy, let us sound of that. We confident, we practice and develop fluency. Look, daddy, let us sound of that. Families, they bond and they representing me. Look, granny, let us sound of that. Look, I'm here, let us sound of that. Nice, I see, let us sound of that. So reliable, culturally relevant. Sit back and listen to the wisdom while we represent. So reliable, culturally relevant. Readers to leaders, they hold it down where they have to sit. So reliable, culturally relevant. Sit back and listen to the wisdom while you represent. So reliable, culturally relevant. Readers to leaders, they hold it down, yeah, they have a sit. Look, mommy, community in action. Well, oh my, let us sound of that. Look, daddy,
creative, affirming, and culture for me too. Look, Brandy, I love the sound of that. I love the sound of that. Yes, yes, yes. So you were speaking about the famous Frederick Douglass speech. What is Fourth of
To the
July?
slaves is the 4th of July.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a powerful piece. I was getting ready to say dig into it, but you're right. Let's save it. Let's
Yes.
save it for
We'll
Friday.
say that as we go into the
I like that. I like
holiday weekend. Yes.
right, right. The good holiday.
Yes.
Yes, yes. Let's see. We got some more comments here. We have Miss Crystal saying, "Hello, Village family." Hello, sis. So glad to see you. That's Crystal. She's a teacher, an all-around fabulous person, and she is Chance, the 4-year-old reading champion's mommy. Yes, she is. We know him. He's a star around these parts and everywhere he goes. And then we have literacy advocates. So many things that this brother is doing with literacy. And he's come on here and read when we were in our early phases. Brother Patrick Oliver, he is all about literacy for our children. And he has a focus on our boys, but for literacy for our youth, period, from a culturally affirming perspective. And that's Brother Patrick Oliver. He says, congratulations on the journey. Thank you so much. We appreciate the love and appreciate your contributions. And then we have Glow, who says, I appreciate what you both do. This is sorely needed. Thank you so much. We appreciate all that you do for our community as well. And then we have Miss Jo Angela. She says, hey, so glad to see you in that greeting. Just wonderful when the literacy gang is all up in here like that. It makes us feel really, really, really good, because literacy is the foundation of it all, but it is also culture and community. Okay. I mean, one of the best things about these 4 months is the community that has been built and the safe haven for learning, for a particular type of learning, for people to convene and come together. And that these comments right here are just a testament to that. So we love that. We love that. Let's see. We got Portia here, who says, I love you both. We love you too, sis. Such a beautiful person. And you created the theme song. Like, that's just never going to get old to me. It's never, ever going to get old to me. Like, I just think it's the dopest thing ever. Like,
I mean, she created it. If I recall correctly, it seems like she created it in 24 to 48 hours. It wasn't long after I just put a little challenge out there, and boom, there it was. So, that's pretty awesome. Love that song.
Well, the way that I remember it actually is you had said it a couple of times, and we thought that I took it as it was some friendly banter between
always, yes.
And I didn't think that it was actually something that she was gonna do. Like, it was just, you know how we all do. We say stuff and it's all kind of fun little spirited things that get set up here. And then one day I'm doing some work. I'm on my laptop and I'm doing all this stuff, and I get a text from her. And I saw it, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna get that. But I'm like, I gotta finish this. Then I go back and click on it. I was like, how dare she not warn me that this is what this was? Now y'all know I was all like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. I can't believe it. So I was like, are you just not gonna tell me you didn't put a warning out that you sent me this treasure, this jewel right here that I will cherish for the rest of my life, and it has touched so many different people? Like, oh my gosh, we will be using that forever and ever. So that was wonderful. Then Lee took it and added the montage of everybody at that point, because we've had more readers since then, but at that point, so many, not everybody, because it could only take, I think, like 12. I don't know. It was a certain amount that it could take, but a lot of the readers at that point, and then it just became something truly, truly special and epic. So yeah,
I thought she might do something, but I had no idea it would be and I've known, I knew Portia, and I've known Portia, so I know what she brings to the table. But that just blew away. Again, that was another one of those times where I had my phone over on the charger, and I hear this bing. I said, that's got to be Star. It says got to be Star. And I heard another bing, and I went over. I said, let me get up. So I got up from the sofa, went over and got the thing, and I clicked on the link. It was amazing. It was
I didn't warn you either, did I? I didn't warn you either, did I? I just did it.
No. It was absolutely amazing.
How I was done. You just gonna find this greatness without any warning.
Yeah, no, you did it to me, but it was worth it. It was worth it.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
India Irie says it was a beautiful surprise.
Yes, indeed.
I loved it. I loved it. And I am getting to know Portia, and every day that I get to know her is just more and more of a wonderful experience. But I didn't know. Like, I mean, it's not like there was a doubt or anything. I was just getting to know her. So as y'all are having that banter, I just thought it was friendly banter. Then she just dropped some heat.
That's right. It was just so fitting and remains fitting.
It is.
I also want to, Sharice Newsom was giving us some comments yesterday. So after the show, she sent me a text of one of her sons. I think he was on a beanbag with the phone in front of him, actually following along with the reading. And so she, sent me a nice comment, just said, something like, thanks for the family reading night. And it was just such a beautiful image of seeing her son laying down with the phone in front of him, following along with the stories that we were reading last night. Oh, okay. Well, you got it too. See? Okay, well, there you go. You know what I'm talking about. Yes.
I was like, they always surprise us with these beautiful things. I'm so appreciative. I will be posting that picture. That just touched. I mean, that's what it's all about. From Shania, just so many different experiences we could call up here. But Shania in that comment, every day, good evening.
The first comment.
First comment, always. And her son looking intently. Like, I mean, he has the phone up, face in the phone. And I'm like, oh man, all the times that we're rushing, it's like, oh man, I gotta stop and get ready to get up here. That's why. Like, oh my gosh. Then for it to be very well received by the community and by all of us, by the village family. That's what this is all about. That's what it is.
It makes it worth it. If we're honest, with the gang, sometimes 7 o'clock is tough. 7 o'clock 4 or 5 times a week can be very tough. But then you get a text message like that, or you get a theme song, or you get Chancellor up here in costume, and it just carries you. It just carries you and motivates you and lets you know that it matters. And so little things like that are very much appreciated. And
let's talk about some more of the things if we're going to talk about the things. So Cleveland sent a poem to the influencers that was inspired by the influencers.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I'm delinquent on.
I have not seen that.
I thought I had already shared, and this just made me realize that I didn't. I think I did share it with the influencers.
Okay.
But so that was wonderful, and I think he said that I can read it. So when they come back, I'm gonna read it or let them read it. So he actually took the time to write that and to say how he was inspired by them. Touched my whole soul. And then I had a phone call. I don't know if she's comfortable with me saying this, so I'll ask before I say who it is. But one of the villagers not in the state, one night, I don't know why I picked it up, but it was in the evening. It was like nighttime or in the weekend, and I just happened to pick up a number that I didn't know, and it was one of our villagers just talking about the program and different things about the show and different things that they're doing around literacy. And I mean, and she's like, I didn't know how you would respond to this, and I was like, we're in the same gang, like we're in a gang, like. Of course I got time, BB. So those types of things, literally where you're building community, and these spaces are so important, but that it resonates like that, and that we really mean this when we say it's a culture, community, and love. Like it's wonderful. And there are some more we'll think of them along the evening.
Well, I mean, before we go, since it's on my mind now, one of the I don't think it was the last Teen Takeover night, but one of the more recent Teen Takeover nights, Ayana was there with her godfather, Juan Diego Wade, who is a school board member in Charlottesville. And Juan, who went to Norfolk State with Ayana's father. And just along the way, I didn't know about all those relationships. It's just that one day I can remember Juan saying something. He was coming down to Norfolk and he was going to go and play tennis over at Norfolk State with this student. And, you know, only as he started telling the story did I realize that he was talking about Ayana. Well, when he was on most recently, they were really challenging him, and he was talking about some of the things they were doing in Charlottesville, different policies that they were doing. He talked about the response in Charlottesville where they had the rally and the incidents, 3 years ago with the white supremacists and the young lady that was killed and all of that. But for me, listening to Juan talk about that, but more importantly, listening to the influencers interview him. So when I've been having conversations with other school board members from around the state, and frankly with the State Department and with the governor's office and some other folks around some of these issues, the questions that they were asking Juan were questions I then used to then say to these policymakers and decision makers, these are the types of things that young people are asking, are demanding, are inquiring about, which I'm not so sure people generally get the opportunity to truly connect with young people, to hear them the way that we get the advantage of hearing our influencers talk and the information that they bring. So, I've been taking what I've heard from the influencers and heard from their peers doing Teen Takeover Night and really sharing that with policymakers as we are making decisions around the relationship between, school resource officers in schools, and what's the impact and how are students feeling, what's happening with their virtual learning. So there's so much that comes out of this literacy gang in this virtual village that I think touches in so many ways that we probably either don't know or don't really appreciate. That's another thing that definitely comes to mind as I just think about what I've learned personally and the influence that I think the influencers are having, whether they really recognize it or not.
Oh gosh, if we're just going to get on those young people and that particular night that you were talking about, that pairing.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. More that pairing right there. Like, wow. I don't think we had that we really went into that. That may have been on a Friday.
Yeah, I think it was. That's right. It sure was.
Yeah, like, woo.
That's right.
Man, did they not handle that interview?
It was, it was great.
In the beginning, I'm like, you used to work for CNN, didn't you? You can be honest with me. It's fine. I won't hold it against you that you had all of that prior experience, but you used to work for CNN, didn't you? Ayana is she just finished 10th grade.
Yes.
I think a lot of people don't, and I don't know if we brought that up enough to people, because I think people may have thought that she was a junior at least, because they knew who our 3 seniors were.
Right.
But I feel they probably at least thought that she was a junior. But oh no.
They had Juan so jacked up in the corner. I removed myself from the screen. I said, I'm not sticking around and getting that interview. But they were it was so on point in the way he engaged with them and what he shared. It was just one of my favorite interviews, if you will, in terms of what we've been doing over these last 15 going on, finishing up 16 weeks.
I think we could add it just to an overall favorite interview.
Yeah.
Like it was a pretty good interview. Yeah, but I feel those influencers, if we're gonna get on that's a whole time right there. And then let's see, we have Miss Regina. She is waving at us. How are you doing, Miss Regina? So good to see you. Can't wait to have you. She signed up to read in our new schedule, so she'll be up here in Thursday. She's all the way down there in Florida. And like I've been telling you guys, she has some wonderful plans for the children in her life and what they're doing with culturally affirming literature over the summer. So, and again, I just hope everybody is staying literate, that everybody is playing these literacy games, doing all kind of things to make reading fun and exciting. Listen, guys, y'all remember Miss Sky popped up here one day. It's just all about making it fun. It's like creativity. I say all the time, if you practice Kwanzaa, you don't really do Kwanzaa. You don't practice Kwanzaa if you're just in December 26th through January 1st. If that's your first time dealing with Kwanzaa, that is the time where you're actually supposed to report on how you enacted those principles throughout the year. So right now, pull that kuumba, pull that creativity out, okay? And I know we had to do a lot of that during the school year, and let's keep it going during the summertime to make this literacy thing fun, because we can't allow our children to fall behind, okay? So with that said, tonight it looks like we're going to do some reading again. I kicked off first yesterday. So
you want me to go first? Okay.
Yes, what are you going to read for us this evening?
So I hope throughout the show, I'm going to share from this book, African American Poetry Anthology, 1773 to 1927. And it says, let's see, do I want to read on the back or why don't I share the note? You don't have to, you can stay on for this if you like. That's up to you. But on the inside cover, there's a little note, and I'm just going to share what it says because I think this is very interesting and offers some great opportunities to share some poetry during that time. But it describes the anthology this way. In the 19th century, abolitionists and African American periodicals printed thousands of poems. I learned that from Peyton, poems by Black men and women. In addition, over 150 African Americans published one or more volumes of their poetry. The subjects and techniques of Black poetry shifted radically in the course of the century in response to political and social events and to changing fortunes of the race. Before the Civil War, from 1830 to 1860, African Americans wrote the finest militant race protest poetry of the century. During Reconstruction, 1866 to 1877, the poets responded to uncertainties about racial identity and the need for racial solidarity with sober, genteel verse. The poems of this decade either ignored race altogether or aggrandized noble Black men and women for the race to emulate and white readers to welcome as responsible citizens into the larger society. In the century's last 2 decades, when African Americans faced crippling discrimination, racial hostility, and terrorism, their poetry became even more conservative, inspirational, descriptive, sentimental, and influenced by Booker T. Washington accommodationists. And Black poetry adhered to cultural acceptable, quote, white themes, techniques, and ethical attitudes. From 1895 onward, African Americans also wrote dialect verse, which nostalgically portrayed characters and folkways of a mythologized Southern past, charming verse that remained popular, fashionable, and profitable for Black poets well into the 20th century. Early in the new century, many poets continued to avoid racial themes, rather they sought, quote, universality, and fine craftsmanship to gain approval of white audiences. Others, however, moved by the race-proud writings of W.E.B. Du Bois, celebrated race consciousness in propagandistic and protest poetry, or in verse that embraced low Black folk culture and music, spiritual, jazz, ballads, and blues. World War I and its aftermath engendered the outpouring of African American creativity known as the New Negro Renaissance, or the Harlem Renaissance, because its center was Harlem in New York City. Many events shaped the new literature, art, and music. Millions of blacks immigrated from the South to cities of the North and confronted urban problems. African Americans who served in the armed forces and encountered equality overseas changed, as Alan Locke noted into quote the new Negro, who defiantly insisted on his rights. Marcus Garvey's black nationalism inspired thousands in the early 1920s, and such periodicals as The Crisis, The Liberator, The Messenger, and Opportunity welcomed poetry, fiction, and essays that championed race pride and the beauty of blackness. This renaissance of African American culture flourished in the years 1917 to 1928 and ended with the Great Depression. So this anthology covers all those different time periods from 1773 to 1927. And so tonight I just thought I would select, and I haven't, be honest with you, I have not reviewed all of these, but I thought I would just select some of these and share them over that continuum to see whether or not we could identify, both in terms of how the notes have described the periods, but also identify even in our own challenges and struggles and still trying to work on our identity and all those types of things that we talk about all the time in 2020. So tonight,
right. So, you know, my wheels are turning as you were, you know, as you were reading that, because that's not what okay. Yeah, because I'm ready to draw parallels.
well, there are, and I think that is the interesting part and why I like so much when we do this, because it allows us to sometimes put some things in context, learn from some things, whether we accept, reject, but also put it in the context of where we are in 2020 moving forward. So I'll share some of those. And like I said, I'm not picking and choosing so much. They have different titles and, some are interesting, and I'm just going to pick some out throughout the night, and I'll share some of those.
Okay. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, then.
Okay.
Share on, brother.
Okay.
On.
So I'm going to start right from the beginning. These are some poems by Phyllis Wheatley Peters. They are projected that she may have been born in 1753, or at least the period of these poems are from 1753 to 1784. It says, brought from Africa to Boston in 1761, the young slave became well educated and in 1773 published poems on various subjects, religious and moral. So the first one is on being brought from Africa to America. Again, 1761 is around the time frame for this. 'Twas mercy brought me from my pagan land, taught my benighted soul to understand that there's a God, that there's a Savior too. Once our redemption neither sought nor knew. Some view our sable race with scornful eye. Their color is a diabolical dye. Remember, Christians, Negroes, black as Cain, may be refined and join the angelic train. There's another poem by George Moses Horton. They're projected that he may have lived between 1797 and 1883. A slave in North Carolina for 66 years. Horton published 150 poems in 3 volumes from 1829 to 1865. His subjects include bondage, love, religion, nature, the art of poetry, and the Civil War. Just even reading that, I think, helps to bring some context to a lot of discussions that we have. So think about this again. George Moses Horton was a slave in North Carolina for 66 years. However, he published 150 poems in 3 volumes from 1829 to 1865. So this first one is titled Liberty and Slavery. Alas, and I am born for this, to wear this slavish chain, deprived of all creative bliss, through hardship, toil, and pain? How long have I in bondage lain, in language to be free? Alas, and must I still complain? Deprived of liberty. O heaven, and is there no relief? Beside the silent grave, to soothe the pain, to quell the grief and anguish of a slave? Come, liberty, thou cheerful sound, roll through my ravished ears. Come, let my grief and joys be drowned, and drive away my fears. Say unto foul oppression, cease, yet tyrants rage no more, and let the joyful trump of peace now bid the vassal soar. Soar on the pinions of that dove, which long has cooed for thee, and breathe her notes from Afric's grove, the sound of liberty. O liberty, thou golden prize, so often sought by blood, we crave thy sacred sun to rise, the gift of nature's God. Bid slavery hide her haggard face, and barbarism fly. I scorn to see the sad disgrace in which enslaved I lie. Dear liberty, upon thy breast I languish to respire, and like the swan unto her nest, I to thy smiles retire. O blessed asylum, heavenly balm, until thy boughs I flee, and in my shades the storm shall calm with songs of liberty. So that was Liberty and Slavery by George Moses Horton. Here's another one of his, very interesting. This is titled Troubled with the Itch and Rubbing with the Sulfur. 'Tis bitter, yet 'tis sweet. Scratching effects but transient ease. Pleasure and pain together meet and vanish as they please. My nails, the only balm, to every bump are off applied, and thus the rage will sweetly calm, which aggravates my hide. It soon returns again, a frown succeeds to every smile. Grinning I scratch and curse the pain, but grieve to be so vile. In fine, I know not which can play the most deceitful game, the devil's sulfur or the itch. The three are but the same. The devil sows the itch, and sulfur has a lonesome smell. And with my clothes as black as pitch, I think wherever I dwell. Excoriated deep by friction played on every part, it often deprives me of my sleep and plagues me to my heart. So I think that itch and the rubbing with sulfur is dealing with what our ancestors did to try to ease the pain of the lash and the whip and the beatings that they endured, and then had the sulfur rubbed in with that. So that has very interesting emotion, at least attached to it. I mean, they all do, but that one really gets to me as I think about that. And then I'll read one more from George Moses Horton, and then I will bring on our co-host. So this one is titled Imploring to be Resigned at Death. Imploring to be resigned at death. Let me die and not tremble at death, but smile at the close of my day, and then at the flight of my breath, like a bird of the morning in May, go chanting away. Let me die without fear of the dead, no horrors my soul shall dismay, and with face pillow under my head, with defiance to mortal decay, go chanting away. Let me die like a son of the brave, in martial distinction display, nor shrink from a thought of the grave, no, but with a smile from the clay, go chanting away. Let me die glad, regardless of pain, no pain to this world betray, and the spirit cut loose from its chains, so loath in the flesh to delay, go chanting away. Let me die and my worst foe forgive, when death veils the last vital ray. Since I have but a moment to live, let me, when the last debt I pay, go chanting away. Imploring to be resigned at death, by George Moses Horton, who was a slave in North Carolina for 66 years and published 150 poems in 3 volumes from 18. All right, come on back. You able to make it? You got to unmute your mic. You all right? You having technical difficulties? All right. Well,
don't bring me back without letting me know.
I thought you were having problems. I was trying to help you.
I was, but I didn't know that I was visible.
Oh, so sorry about
that. All right. So I think I got that together. I think I got it together. So that was wonderful. So what were some of the? I have to admit, I was handling something through text. I didn't catch all of that, but were there any parallels did you drew, or did you mention that already?
First of all, I'm just trying to get over the fact that you're saying that you were playing with your phone during this most important period of time.
Sir, you do it all the time. I was playing phone games. I had to take care of stuff.
But those few poems, I don't have any parallels at this point to draw. They were just each raw in their own intensity. I could just, as I was reading them and reciting the poem, just kind of being there. The one poem was describing and talking about the itch and the bumps and the sulfur, which I was mentioning I took as treating wounds and from lashes and whips. One of the early poems just talked about being brought from Africa to America. And it's just interesting throughout this, and I think throughout our reading of literature and our history, this, I don't want to say a dichotomy, but this constant battle between our African spiritual roots, the Christianity that was imposed, and the liberation theology that we know that many of us adopted from even within something that was being imposed to try to justify and to make us comfortable with our enslaved condition. So I'm, whether it's this book or any type of reading, I'm often moved and mesmerized by how our ancestors, whether it was through communicating with one another to move towards liberty, or whether it was communicating with one another to just be able to survive the daily horrors of what they lived. I'm just always fascinated by this genius that I think comes out of their ability to adapt in some instances, and even while plotting and planning their freedom, or in some cases just yearning to be free at the same time. It's so easy for us, I think, sometimes to say what we would have done, but 66 years enslaved, under hellish conditions. It's just one thing to say it. It's another thing to actually read as folks talk about it. And if you ever get a chance to, there are other good books out there on slave narratives where they've captured the writings or the interviews of individuals who are enslaved. It just, at least for me, it just takes me to another place. So, and I hope it did the those who were listening as well.
I hope it did too. And being the avid time traveler that I am, I've been to those places plenty of times.
Yeah.
Two things I want to say in response to what you said. One of them, you're gonna be like, this is one of the other times where I like go just pivot kind of somewhere else. But the first one, there had to be hope. And it's interesting to me. I can't remember. It's somebody I watch on YouTube, I believe, and they talked about, it's someone I watch and they say they don't believe in hope. And I think that in order for us as a people to make it this far, there had to be a certain level. I think that there's a thin line between hope and complacency, or hope and not taking the action that you need to take because you're hoping that something, there's active hope and inactive hope, right? But there had to be some hope there and some belief that some better days were coming, and also some love for people they hadn't met yet, some desire for future generations to be in a better light than what they were in. So next time you read that, I will make sure that
I'm going to read more. Yeah, later on.
But the other thing I want to say is, and this is where you're going to be like, okay, sorry, you're pivoting. But you mentioned liberation theology, Black liberation theology, and I must admit, although I feel like I may have been exposed to that prior to then, the first time I heard the term was with Jeremiah Wright. And if everybody remembers, he was y'all's favorite president, Barack Obama's pastor at the time. And he got banished to gone, never to be heard again. And sometimes people are before their time, per se, if you talk about the reception that they get from mainstream society, or they get thrust into positions, certain situations. And I just wonder if Jeremiah Wright, that same sermon were to be that, got him in so much hot water, and as now they say cancel culture and all of that, they just got him canceled. What would the reception of that commentary, of that sermon be by more people at this point? Because at that point, definitely by white America, there was, oh no. And then I feel like that there were some Black people who took issue with it and some who were quiet. And at that point, I was living in Atlanta, and I remember there were two churches that are the liberation theology. There's one down there called Sankofa, and that church was a panel at the AU Center, all around the conversation around, it was like, was Jeremiah Wright wrong? And then there's another church called Shrine of the Black Madonna. I don't know if they were represented there that day, I'm not sure, on the panel, but that's a place I've been there quite a few times because there's a lot of dope things that happen there. I've never been to a service, but I mean, they got a lot of stuff going on there. And it just made me, just saying that word, my association goes back to him and that time frame, and then looking at where we are right now and just wondering what the reception and even how y'all's president would have responded to that now, if that were happening, if he were confronted with that being his pastor right now and he were still the president, versus how he responded to it back then. Just a thought.
So you gonna cause me to read these again, but since you've gone down this path, I think you raised something that that you and I will have this other discussion about it now. So as you were describing it, so for some of us, we knew Jeremiah Wright long before we knew Barack Obama. So my introduction to Jeremiah Wright did not revolve around Barack Obama, did not revolve around the media portrayal of him. Jeremiah Wright had been to Norfolk many times. His work,
Wow.
his work, his theology is just on a continuum. I mean, it just so happened that at that point in time, he was exposed to others that may not have been aware of his work, but many of us knew about Jeremiah Wright, and James Cone, and King Hope Felder, and a whole lot of folks, long before the CNNs of the world decided to put a spotlight on one small excerpt from one small speech.
Very unfair.
What I caution us about, and you and I have this conversation, is we have to be careful, in my opinion, of, on the one hand, saying that we're not going to allow others to define us, and then we end up defining ourselves in the context of others' knowledge of us. So as you were describing the cancel culture and how Obama might respond and how others might, maybe it's a family-friendly show. Who cares? The bottom line is that when we talk about being culturally affirming, when we talk about knowing our history, when we're talking about knowing who we are, then central to that is, as you talked about with our 7 principles, since key to that is defining oneself. So, and I'm just thinking of my father always saying to me something about exposure. That's why I think exposure is important, because we cannot define whether we're talking about this here or, because I use the term liberation theology. I think that at its root, what we call the religion of Jesus, I would say, is liberation theology. Christianity, we got a whole nother conversation we need to talk about. But the religion of Jesus is all about liberation theology of a oppressed individual who came to show a group of oppressed people how to throw off the shackles of the empire, whether that was mental shackles, physical shackles, or spiritual shackles. So, we're not going to turn this into that, but I do think that
turn it.
I love the Shrine of the Black Madonna. I remember visiting them in Atlanta a long, long time ago. They had one of the greatest bookstores. I don't know if they still have the great bookstore, but they had one of the greatest bookstores. But that is why reading is so important, because my exposure to the Shrine and a lot of this work, when I graduated Hampton in 87, my first job was in Phoenix, Arizona. And I was out there by myself, cross country. And Arizona State University was right there, wherever it is, 30 minutes away from where I lived. And I would go and sit in the library and pull books off the shelf. So between books that I pulled off the shelf from the Arizona State Library, and Elijah Muhammad had all these farms that he had established in Arizona. So there was a group of the a segment of the Nation of Islam there in Phoenix. And at this time, when I was in Phoenix, it seemed like many African Americans there were afraid of even talking to one another or assembling. And so I found comfort going down and getting a fish sausage sandwich and learning in the bookstore and so forth. So this exposure thing and this literacy thing and these books that sit on shelves that we may not even know that they're there till we go looking for us or the Spirit connects us with it, can truly expose us and take us so many places. But I never would have thought at the time that my exposure to the Shrine of the Black Madonna and Albert Cleage and Black Christian nationalism and all of that would start from a book that I pulled off a shelf in Phoenix, Arizona at the Arizona State Library. So we way off tangent, but
Well, no, I mean, but I think, and I agree. Well, let me clear something up first because I'm seeing comments, and I'm gonna come to, and I'm also going to personal comments about
You did
my
this yesterday too about Obama, but I'm used to it.
let me say this: I don't have a favorite president because I think a lot of times when it comes to stuff like that, then people will think that if I'm not saying that if I'm referring to a particular person in some way, then I must feel another way about another one. I don't have one. I don't have a favorite president. So let's make that clear. Like I'm not enamored by any of it. So let me clear that up for myself, for anybody who doesn't know me, before somebody says something strange like, is she a Trump supporter? Like, no,
no.
no, she's look, people will twist.
You did the same thing the other night when Obama's name came up and you kind of blew it off.
Favorite president. My favorite people are for Black liberation. Okay, so if I don't see that coming from you, then you're not going to end up being a favorite of mine. So that's my criteria. That's my agenda. That's my grounding right there. So anyone who doesn't fall into that category or seems to be anything adverse to that, then you can't make my favorite list. But anyway, I agree. You know, it's so important for us to learn our history and our culture because then we can't be duped by things, or like you said, go by what the what the other aspects of society tell us that we should be angered by or upset by, and also stop waiting for permission from other people when we see things that are going on wrong, that are incorrect, or people being crucified for something that we all know is right. If anything is coming from this time point right now, I feel like I'm seeing more Black people being comfortable to speak up about things. Let's just, as they say, keep that same energy. Like, y'all, you see, like you saying it, and it's okay. You're all right. You're all right. So let's keep that same energy. Let's keep it. Like I'm glad that it's here, and let's give it some legs. But learning the movement with Clever Communities in Action about culturally affirming literature from the smallest base point with our children, for them to become literate, for them to have an excitement and joy when it comes to reading, for them to be exposed to characters that look like themselves and affirm who they are, but also for them to learn about our history and culture, and teachable moments that can come with families at that moment to dig deeper and deeper. I think this might be a first, but on this show tonight, we've had one passage read.
I know. I'm sitting there looking at the clock like, holy smoke.
In the conversation here, I mean, it be like that sometimes. It's our situation here, so we can move what they say, move what the spirit says move. So we move with how the spirit say move tonight. So I hope you guys are enjoying it.
So let me, since we're on this, and I'm still going to Literacy Gang, we still going to make this progression, because I think one of the points,
these comments too, so they can be part of it.
But one of the things the point I was trying to make in what I read, and I like to be able to read something else before we end, is place and time and context matters. So even when we talk about, President Obama, if we talk about anybody else, context, time matters. And I was reading earlier today some quotes by Benjamin Mays, and who gave the eulogy at Dr. King's funeral. And I was reading that eulogy, and even Dr. Mays was saying at that time that certain things just happen, and we have to be able to put them in their context. And sometimes in the present, it may not be in that context as we think it should be, but then we go back in history, it provides a different context. So I'm gonna let you go through your comments, and then I have something I'd like to read before we close out.
Bringing up the whole Jeremiah thing, when you said it doesn't matter, it's not that I'm saying what other people said matters, but just the context. Like as you were saying, even something more modern right now, something that we all saw happen, at that time frame, the way that it was received versus how it would be received today, because he took a hit that he did not deserve from that. But anyway,
he took a hit from whom?
Huh?
From whom did he take a hit?
From I mean, there were black people who didn't have his back, I feel, and then definitely from white society. Like he became, like it was so much negativity written about him. Like he was villainized, demonized.
Therefore what?
So the point of okay, so I'm gonna start therefore whatting you about the point of what I said was just to draw the parallel. Like, I mean, obviously we should not be concerned about what, and if we're grounded in our history and culture, but I'm just drawing, as you were saying, parallels from what you read. So if you look at the way something was received, what was that in 07, 08 versus fast forward a little bit over, not 20 years later, and how it would be received completely differently. Like I just remember for my time at that point, how somebody who was saying something that made perfect sense to me just totally got raked through the coals. And I was like, as they say now, where's the lie? Like, where's the lie? And now it's just interesting when those things happen. And it happens so many times where somebody, some people lose their lives, some people lose their livelihood, and they're, when they get villainized, demonized, can possibly lose everything. I don't know that he lost everything, but then later society catches up, whether it is genuine or whether it's a fad, or for whatever reason, society catches up to that person. And then some of these people who were killed, people are rocking them on a t-shirt or quoting them all the time. And it's like, yo, this person got killed for this position, and now they are paraphernalia. That's wild. That's wild right there. But let me grab these.
Hold on, sister.
Let me grab these comments. So Portia said, the influencers have won my heart in so many ways. Additionally, both Star and Rodney have provided a family atmosphere to some that do not have an opportunity to experience such camaraderie. It's nice to have family that you both like and love. It was nice to be welcomed to the village and initiated into the one and only CCIA literacy gang. Touching my heart, gang. Yes, sis. Yes, in it for life, sis. You know it. And in response to Rodney's reading, she says, I love the poetry reading, Rodney. What a treat. As always, Rodney's reading is a cool summer treat. Glow says, in a time when so many people just dial in, it's so great to have moderators that are entrenched in the subject matter. Thank you for noticing, sir. Like, we are in this to win this. You know that we are students of this, and we know that you are as well. So we appreciate the people who appreciate the banter. I hope you guys aren't like, I hope Shania is still here. I hope Shania is not angry. Hey, Shania, if you're not angry with us, can you let us know? Tell us how you feel, baby girl. Tell us how you feel. And Portia says, there's a genius in our ancestors' ability to rise. Their resilience is an art piece to admire. Okay. And the way you said that was an art piece to admire. And then she's laughing at me for saying y'all's favorite president. You know how I feel. And she says, Obama's hands were tied. He wasn't allowed to run amok per se, doing whatever his heart desired as the current president is allowed to do. The presidency is truly unreal. I appreciated that Obama still allowed himself to embrace and advocate for his culture. We'll agree to disagree and continue to love each other on that. We'll bring you up here one time to talk.
Hey, how about this? When Obama held the Bible, at least he knew which side was the upside and which side was the downside. Unlike some other presidents. I'm teasing with Portia.
Oh, okay, because I'm like, look, definitely don't have any love for that foolishness. Like, that's what I was saying. It's not an apple. I don't like any of it.
I'm teasing with Portia.
And then Portia says, salute, Queen. Much respect. Grounding is necessary. Thank you, sis. And then Miss Tiffany is here. She says, happy Tuesday. Hey, family. And then Shania said, absolutely not. Wonderful. I'm so glad baby girl is enjoying this conversation, because that's our pumpkin. And Portia is laughing at you and your lunacy. Therefore, what is he talking about? What is he?
My lunacy?
Yours. Okay. So
It's 8:01. May I share another poem before we depart?
Yes, you may, because you are my favorite co-host. So you may definitely share another poem. I'm gonna step away and diddle on my phone. I'm just playing.
Okay, please do. For Literacy Gang, I'm still working on my diction, so I'm still practicing poem as I have learned from Peyton. I'm just going to skip up some years. This is James Weldon Johnson, who lived from 1871 to 1938. An educator, lawyer, newspaperman, United States consular officer, and secretary of the NAACP, Johnson was a versatile man of letters. A librettist and songwriter, novelist, historian, anthologist, autobiographer, and poet. So I'm going to read the poem, Lift Every Voice and Sing. Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn died. Yet with a steady beat, have not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sighed. We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come, treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we meet thee, lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. I think that's wine. Drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand. True to our God, true to our native land. James Weldon Johnson, lift every voice and sing. That's my concluding poem for the night.
Sing a song full of the faith that the darkness is taught. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought. Placing around me
Stony the road. Oh, so sorry. That's right. There you go.
I was somewhere. Somebody was going into all the verses. I was
Yeah.
like,
Stony the road,
I don't know.
rod. Bit of the chastening rod. Yes, indeed.
No, I know the rest of that part, but there was like more and more and more, like I was like, I was like, I didn't know all of that, but I do know the whole first.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So this is what you get with the literacy game, with the virtual village reading. Okay, we serving you that Black national anthem. Okay, so you heard it read, and then we all sang it together. I hope y'all stood up and gave it the respect that it deserves. Put some respect on its name. Okay, so yeah, that's what happens here in our literacy gang. All right, so this is us. This is us doing our thing. It is important. I think I'm just excited that more and more people are beginning to understand that at this point. Yes, you're somebody asked the name of the book.
No, I was just sharing in case anybody wanted to, get a copy and pick it up and read some of the poetry.
Okay. So I'm gonna grab these comments and then we're gonna get out. We're going over our little time. So we got some claps and loves, and then Portia says, "Thank you, Rodney, much. Thank you, Rodney, much needed reading for such a time as this." And then Miss Tiffany says, "To victory is won." And then we got Miss Portia with the music and the mic and the hand claps. Let us march on till victory is won. And Tiffany says she is teaching the daycare kids this ASAP.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Send us some clips if you're able. If it doesn't violate anything, we would love, or at least tell us how it goes. Okay. Wonderful. We appreciate you doing that. And, just why that was created, just the whole story and behind all of it. So you guys, that's our culturally affirming literacy evening. All right. I think we had some good conversation. Thank you to everyone who chimed in the comment section, everybody who stayed the course while Rodney and I had this conversation. Again, I hope you guys are enjoying it. That's the type of literacy gang, again, that happens here. We read the books, but we have the conversations. We appreciate everybody who appreciates it and hope that it is some value to you all as well. Hopefully we can grab some of you guys up here sometime to join us in these conversations as we move forward. Again, the survey is coming, okay? If you have been up here before, you're going to get an email from us. If not, then I will be, so that everybody, even people who have tuned in but who have not read, can fill it out. I will be posting the survey as well. So please make sure, whether you were on here as a reader or whether you've been tuned in watching, please fill out that survey for us. It'll literally just take 1 minute of your time, but it does a lot for us. That's your community service. If you see fit to doing such, some that will take 1 minute for you to do. So please be on the lookout for the survey. Yeah. And just to remind you guys again, coming up on starting next week, which is July, starts tomorrow.
Yes.
So this is just crazy because at the beginning of the year, time was creeping and inching along. And then somewhere around like April, May, time was like, pew!
Yeah, the influencers did it.
Yeah, it just started running. It just gained a lot of momentum and is running. So tomorrow is July, and that means that we'll be going to Thursday programming for July. You filling out this survey will help us to decide a lot as far as where we will be moving forward, how we'll move forward with programming. Okay, that survey does a lot to help us with making those decisions. And
I was going to say, Ms. Starr, please do share it on social media, and then we want the village to share it as well. So especially we are trying to reach those who have participated or observed or viewed the work, the virtual village and the virtual reading that we've been doing. So you all are also encouraged to please share it as well, just as you've been sharing this all along.
Yes, because again, there are people who may have been watching but may not have commented or come on here. We want opinions from them as well. Anybody who has tuned in, we want to hear from you. If you tuned in at all, then we need your feedback on this. So, and Miss Tiffany dropped her email. She said she will do it. And Miss Portia said CCIA of value, much definitely. So thank you so much, sis. We appreciate that. And on that note, we love you all. Y'all have a good evening, and we're going to let y'all appreciate this.
Look, mommy, community in action. But oh my, let us sound that. Look, daddy, there's a book for me too. But oh my, let us sound that. Creative, affirming, and culture for me too. Look, granny, and let us sound that. Look, granny, and let us sound that. Look, granny, and let us sound that. Learning, exploring about history, you see. Look, mommy, and let us sound that. We confident, we practice, and develop fluency. Look, daddy, and let us sound that. Families, they bonding, they representing me. Look, granny, and let us sound that. Look, I'm here, let us sound that. Nice, I see, let us sound that. I'm so reliable, culturally relevant. Sit back and listen to the wisdom while we represent. So reliable, culturally relevant. Readers to leaders, they hold it down where they have to sit. So reliable, culturally relevant. Sit back and listen to the wisdom while you represent. So reliable, culturally relevant. Readers to leaders, they hold it down, yeah, they have a sit. Look, mommy, community in action. Well, oh my, let us sound that. Look, daddy, there's a book for me too. Well, oh my, let us sound that.